Hello there, and welcome to Club Film. Today, Alex and I will be discussing Dead Poets Society. Welcome,
Hello,
Alex.
everybody. Hello.
So,
Hi.
crazy little week we've had here, haven't we?
Yeah, sad. We're crazy. Crazy
I
and
didn't
sad.
believe it at first when I heard the news. I just
Yeah,
like,
it was.
huh? Really?
How'd you hear? How'd you hear?
Twitter. Twitter just blew up. I finished something and then jumped on Twitter that night, and I just saw this outpouring of tweets, and it's like, wow, it's nuts.
Yeah.
So I heard he
Yeah.
died, and then I read, after that, of course, it was a suicide, which was even crazier to realize that aspect.
Yeah. Yeah. I know we didn't talk about this before, but I don't know. Some of it sounds kind of fishy to me. I
Yeah.
mean, I know that he's struggled a lot with depression and stuff, but I just wonder if they are disclosing all facts about it.
There's probably some hidden stuff. I mean, we've known he's had alcoholism problems before. He's been in clinics and stuff to work on that. Yeah, I mean, would
It's
they have
tough.
disclosed if it was? Yeah, I mean, I don't know. They're disclosing more than most celebrity deaths, I feel.
Yeah.
A lot
I mean,
of
I'm
deaths you don't even
assuming. I'm
hear how they
assuming.
die.
What's that?
A lot of celebrity deaths you don't even know any
Oh,
of the
yeah,
details. They
that's
never
true.
disclose any of it.
Well,
So,
heck, when Michael Jackson died, that was a mess as far as disclosure of information.
yeah.
You know?
But yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty crazy. And as I watch and realize like his body of work he's done over the years, there's always they're funny, but the thematic material around the humor, there seems to be a darkness in a lot of the movies.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
Patch Adams is about using humor to help sick kids. You have serious things like Dead Poet Society, Good Will Hunting. You have like the 1 hour Photoshop one. You have World's Greatest Dad. A lot of sad movies, and Jack is even a sad movie where he's got a death
Yeah.
sentence to. It's a weird repertoire if you actually look over his body of work. Like they're not straightforward comedies. Almost none of them
It's
are.
true. Yeah, it's true. I think that he definitely. I don't know. Apparently, like I was reading this up. Apparently, him and Christopher Reeve, Superman, the old
Yeah.
Superman. Apparently, he and him were roommates back in Juilliard. Way back in the day. But it's just funny to think like where they ended up, and what they ended up doing.
Very different, yeah.
Yeah.
But his repertoire of films feels like they're almost hand selected by him, where he's, especially as he got later in his career, had almost a purpose in the movies he was making.
Oh yeah,
Even
absolutely.
if they didn't get reviewed well, like Patch Adams has not reviewed well, but I think it's a good movie.
Yeah, yeah. What's weird that Philip Seymour Hoffman and Robin Williams are both in it.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
man.
so it's a double
And
bummer.
I guess Mrs. Doubtfire 2 is in development, but that's now over. So
It's not going to be happening.
that would have been crazy though if they made a Doubtfire sequel. I don't even know what that'd be.
I don't know. He dresses up in order to be their grandmother or something.
Grandmother. Yeah, right. Oh,
Yeah, I don't know.
yeah.
I always, anytime I think of a grandmother in a movie, and this is terrible, you know what I think of? I think of the old grandmother in Ratatouille with the bottle cap glasses
Yeah.
and
Shotgun?
the shower head and the 12 gauge shotgun just blowing your house to bits.
Yeah.
That is by far one of the best introductions to a character,
Absolutely.
such a minor character, but oh my
Yeah.
gosh, it's so funny.
Yeah.
So funny. Anyway.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, yeah.
it's,
So, I thought Dead Poet Society would be a good one to discuss this week.
yeah.
So it's a serious movie that it's a coming of age movie, but it's more than that. It's
Yeah.
yeah.
Something
So,
deeper.
yeah.
What did had you seen it before? I can't remember.
I had a couple times.
Okay.
I thought I owned it in iTunes. I guess not, so I bought it because it used to be in Netflix. I think they pulled it off Netflix recently.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I'm tired. What did you think this go around? for the film.
Say it again.
Said, what did you think this go around when you watched it?
I enjoyed it as always. I was of course paying more attention to Robin Williams' role in this one than I had in the past.
Yeah.
And his role it's cool where he's trying to, change what's wrong about the school, but he's really not able to get support from anyone to do this.
Yeah.
And it ends, of course, with the suicide and all this other stuff,
Yeah. Which, again, is a hauntingly ironic conclusion considering the ending of his own life. It's weird. It's funny, that film has always been close to my heart ever since high school, actually. My band director would show every time before state championship, which is like the hardest competition
I
in
remember the state.
Virginia for marching band.
Same
You and I are
thing.
the same.
Yeah, marching
breed.
bands, big deal.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
For those of you who may be listening, or rather, for those of you who are listening, if you have not ever experienced being in marching band, it's a weird subculture. A good,
it's
cool, but it's from the outside. I get why people call band geeks. I get it. I still think it's a silly term, but it's fun. One thing about marching band that I always had a theory. I think a lot. So you know how it is. I mean, in marching band, most people are kind of in high school. Kind of think marching band people are kind of meh. It's not like the cool thing unless you're a drumline.
Yeah.
I think people
player, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I think people tend to forget the fact how many years it takes for somebody to actually get good enough to remotely be in marching band.
Sounds halfway decent to walk and play like that.
Yeah. Now,
and I do sound a lot crappier when I'm marching.
It's hard.
I got the louder mouthpiece on and all that crap.
Yeah, it's hard. And I always wonder that because, for in as much as popular that sports are, I saw an article recently. This is a rabbit trail here.
This is very.
It'll come back. It'll come back. Yeah, it'll come back. Our band teacher was very passionate about having kids. He would liken it to what he called ownership. He says it's good to take ownership of what you do, whether it's schoolwork or activities, or in this case, marching band. And Jack Elgin is his name, and he would he practiced what he preached. I mean, he allowed us to take ownership, which I thought was cool, of different things. But every time before the state championship, he would show the clip from Dead Poets. You're right there.
I had a call coming in. Let me
okay.
Text him real quick here.
That's fine. So, everybody, I'm going to do an impression. I'm going to do an impression of what is Rob Williams saying? And Mrs. Doubtfire, I'm going to do an impression of a hot dog.
So proceed. I'm also.
No, it's okay. That's all right.
Yes.
But what he would do is he'd show us that one clip when Robin Williams Keating plays Keating introduces himself, and he takes them out to the foyer where all the dead people are, the pictures of all the older ones. And he's like, "Seize the day, boys. Make your lives extraordinary." So he would show that scene, and I'll never forget this, like clockwork. And this is VCR days. He'd stop the tape and turn off the TV and wouldn't say a word. And, like, no one would be talking.
It was like pitch dark, too, probably?
Oh, no, it wasn't pitch dark, but it was in the band room. But he would stop and he'd look around, and he had a mustache and like this, and he said, "Seize the day, everybody. Make this day extraordinary." And like that was like his pep talk. But man, we were fired up. We were ready to rip things. I mean, can't really tackle people because that's not part of the game.
Sure.
But so I always saw that scene, and then I finally saw the movie later in high school, and it's touched me, man. It's It's a different kind of film.
It is. I mean, there's villains on all sides of the equations type of thing, as far as, parents who are trying to mold their kids to be what they want them to be.
Yeah.
Instead, it's like the football coach that only lets their kid play football,
It's true. Oh, heck, I remember, I remember a friend of mine from high school whose coach hated the fact that he played lacrosse. And he's like, well, why don't you just play football or whatever? So eventually he just quit both and did track. So
yeah,
I guess he figured that one out. But
yeah, during this whole movie, that father of what's the character?
Neil.
Mm-hmm. It just gets to me that even if Neil gets straight A's, that doesn't matter to his dad.
Doesn't matter.
And he still can't do that. The drama, which. That just boggles my mind. And is this taking place in the 1950s? There's probably some cultural things that's a bit different where, it's a sir era where you still call your dad sir and all that stuff. That just doesn't exist anymore. But still, it seems ridiculous.
Well, it's also one of those things. I was thinking about this. I never really thought about it until watching it last night. And sadly enough, I think it's because of college debt being a problem now. Is that I think the reason why Neil felt trapped is that he couldn't, like the reason why he couldn't really tell off his father was probably the fact that he's like, oh, well, he's paying for all my schooling, right? And which makes me wonder if, I just kept on thinking about the student debt issue where it's like you have all these kids that want to do these things but are so cash strapped in after school. And yet, like what they may really want to do, like it's all about being.
I've heard, I know people that they feel like they're in prison because my parent is paying for me to have a free place to live and do stuff. So I pretty much they're locked to do that because of that situation.
Well, and I will say, I was. I don't know, call it a blessing. I guess you call it a blessing. I just don't like using that stupid hashtag blessed. Drives me crazy. Anyway.
Yeah.
It was a blessing for me in my family, and I think it was because of the way my dad was, is that he kind of saw his own choices and kind of the outcome of that, and I think he and my mom were very encouraging as far as us finding our voice and essentially in what we thought we were interested in. What's interesting is that all of us have chosen kind of similar yet different things within the similarities, and I think of like how many kids find themselves like Neil, where either their parents are overbearing or their parents don't care at all, which is like the extreme opposite of that.
Which is
and it's still
bad.
Yeah, it's still the same effect, and I see friends of mine here, friends and colleagues, where you can tell that, they got the heck out of Dodge, not because they were eager to try something new, but almost more so they just wanted to get away, which is in some ways, it doesn't have to be like that, at least it shouldn't be that way.
Yeah, my family had a pretty flexible pursue what you want to pursue. I mean, I was a music major. I've got a programmer brother. I got a brother in finance, and other. Like it's a wide array. One's going to be a teacher. And all that kind of stuff. And we're all across the whole country. I'm New Hampshire, and they got the other people in Washington. It's just spread apart.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Like that one scene near the end when Neil's father, he's like, you're going to da-da-da-da, you're going to Harvard, and you're going to be a doctor.
Yeah, it's telling you your profession. That was presented to me. I don't think... Suicide is extreme, right?
Yeah.
I would have run... if it was personally me, you know me, I like living in the forest, so I just run away and live in the forest, but... I don't think
ladies and gentlemen, may please bear witness in the fact that the man opposite of me, Mr. Tim Chaten, is the only man I've ever known to have spent a week, was it, I believe?
Yeah, a week and a half.
A week and a half in the Pasadena National Forest. This man slept in it.
Yeah,
Like
it was my home. It's pretty cool.
it was his home. It was his home, homie. Yeah,
Oh yeah.
that was
Well,
funny.
like I would, Suicide's extreme. I'd just get the heck out of Dodge and find
That was the one thing I've never really bought onto that idea, just because I think it was. I mean, it's good for shock value when it's a really dramatic.
I can imagine
move.
that happening too, though. Some kids would react that way. I'd imagine.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. Well, I mean, especially too, like I know that I wouldn't take it and I'd just leave. Oh, well, excuse me.
Yeah.
And vice versa. And I think most people would. Most people would leave if they find themselves in a position, or find go stay with family or a close friend family or something like that.
Yeah.
But I think as far as Neil's character, it is kind of logical because he does feel trapped. And I think it also comes from that boarding school mentality where it's like your family is the boys in your boarding school and your family. There's really not much contact with the outside world.
At that
otherwise.
age, you really haven't been. You haven't done. You have never been independent in your entire life, pretty much, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
so you don't even know.
Yeah,
what
I don't
to do
know.
with that. But still, yeah.
It's sad. It
So
definitely.
we have a question, Mr. Alex, from.
Good.
By
Who do we have?
J.Y. Barker. I believe he'd be related.
Hey, well, that's my dad. Hello.
Which student most represents you, Mr. Alex?
Represents me?
Yeah.
Well, beyond the, that's a good question. I sometimes feel like, at least when I was a student, I sometimes felt like a mixture of Cameron, who was always like, "Is this right? Is this right? Am I doing this right?" Like I sometimes was worried about that. I think I was also. Is it Charlie, the one who falls in love with the girl? No. Is it Charlie?
I'm looking through this. There's Neil. There's Todd.
No.
Charlie,
Keep going.
Richard, Knox, Steven. I wish I had like a class photo of these people.
I think it is. Yeah, that's tough. Well, the guy who falls in love and reads the poem to the girl. That's
you.
I think that was me because it took me a long time. Like I was comfortable in my own skin, and I think from the outside, a lot of people thought me as a confident individual, and I was.
Yeah.
But there were parts of me that just didn't feel like rocking the boat per se.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually it was that moment, and honestly, that movie was part of it, was showing me that if you want to make something happen, as Nike would say, just do it. So that's the thing I love about a movie like this, is that it kind of calls you to action. You can't really watch it passively, which I like.
You have to read poetry when you go.
I kind of want to read poetry after I see that every time.
Just go to the poetry lounge,
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you? What character resembles you?
I don't know. I'm trying to think. Like, I could totally see myself bringing a saxophone to poetry night and rocking that. Like,
did you play saxophone? I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's like one of my main instruments.
Oh, dude, that's awesome. Do you have one with you?
It's in it's in Indiana. It was too big to bring.
I was gonna say it'd be great if you played it right.
To use out here, probably. But and I love that scene in particular where he's faking that he doesn't know how to play saxophone at all.
Oh, right.
Where he's like squeaking and then
yeah,
like I thought this guy didn't know how to play.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah,
that was fun.
So as I was watching Dead Poets Society, I noticed towards the end when they're standing on their desks, it wasn't the whole class that ended up standing. It was only like half the
Yeah.
class.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that until watching it. Yeah.
Did you observe the reactions of those who didn't stand? That part was interesting.
I forget. What were they just?
Many of them are kind of ashamed of themselves.
Yeah.
Like you can tell they're kind of ashamed that they're not taking that stand. I love that the kid who does the cat sat on the mat poem stands up for him. Like that's a fun. I like little supporting characters like this. Apollo 13 does this too very well, where there's these little supporting characters that really aren't in much, but when they show up, you're like, I remember this character. And that one, he literally only has like 3 focused parts. There's the poem. There's that poem part, and then there's the when they're playing soccer, and he reads it really like kind of nonchalantly, doesn't really care, and he doesn't really kick the ball. And then King's like, oh, thing.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
I do love the soccer scene where they're
gosh,
out these great victorious lines. That's how I should open my morning. Just
with poetry, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it really does remind me. This movie and ironically, Book of Eli, of all movies, reminds me of the power of words. And even in the not so great movie, it's not that it's not great, but it was fine. I think that's a better way to put it.
It was good.
Deliver Us from Evil, I saw, and there are parts about it that are. I'm normally not a horror guy. A friend of mine wanted to see it.
Yeah, me either.
Yeah, a friend of mine wanted to see it, and I thought, okay, I know the director, and it'd be cool to support his work and see what he did. So we saw it. The movie was okay. What I really liked was his focus on the power of words. And I did not know that in regards with, like, it's an exorcism film, but I didn't know that in regards with exorcism is that the priest will try to inquire of whatever is possessing the human. They need the demon's name. And it's all about the name, because in exorcism it's in the name of Christ compels you to come out. And I'm like, oh, that's a really interesting thing. So like I like that Dead Poets Society is all about words making a difference. Or in Keating's case, it's to woo women, but
yeah, sure.
What was language used for? To communicate? No, to woo women.
Now, the moment when they're ripping out the pages from the book, I love that moment.
Great moment.
Because it's great in a couple of moments. Like, first off, it's great that, starts it off, drawing the thing on the board, and then just like, this is crap.
Excellent.
And I totally agree with that. Like, I hated poetry as a student. I hated this subject because it was always B and, A, B, A, B, and all that form crap. Yeah. And then when I moved to LA, it's like, I can just write, poetry that I don't need to worry about the technical rules, and that can be enjoyable and, expressive, and
you know what it is? It's jazz for the human language.
Totally.
I mean, it's that you just go. You just go with the flow. And you're right. It was the poetry line for me too.
Like in school, it's like poetry's for girls. And come on.
Yeah. It's either poetry's for girls or for kids reading Dr. Seuss.
Yeah. And then you experience it for real, with real human beings, and it's much different. Yeah.
Well, and then I remember, so with you and I, back in the day, for those who are listening, Tim and I, we know each other through L.A. We both lived in L.A. for a time together. Not under the same roof, but in the same vicinity.
Same city, yeah.
Yeah, and that can mean a lot in L.A. But we would go to this thing called the Poetry Lounge every Tuesday evening on Fairfax 444 or 555.
Right. I remember the stop.
North Fairfax Street. Anyway, but it was a great place. It attracted all people, all kinds, all from white, black, red, orange. Tall, short,
financial groups.
Different. It was amazing. It was the Venice Beach of poets.
The most welcoming place you'll ever go. Like
Yeah, yeah,
most unjudgmental place you'll go.
yeah.
Yeah.
It was pretty fascinating. But anyway, I know that's where it opened up my love for language, at least after school.
Yeah, likewise.
Yeah, yeah.
But I love that scene. They're tearing out the pages of the book, and some of the kids are like, "This guy insane! I'm going to ruin this great textbook."
My favorite part though in that scene is when Mr. McAllister, the other teacher, comes in. What the hell's going on here? And then you see Charlie or one of the kids go, and he just eats it. It's like evidence destroyed.
Yeah, and then Keating comes back in. I don't hear.
I don't hear enough ripping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So great. The movie, of course, all the books have that torn out.
Yeah. Okay, I just want to talk about scripting real quick, because stuff like that, it always excites me when there's something in the beginning that is so memorable, and you're like, oh, snap, that's such a cool scene. Yeah. But then they actually use it as a tool to tell a part of the story later on. Wall-E does that excellently. I mean, there's like, I love, or remember Aliens when
Do
Ripley,
I remember Aliens?
Okay, all right, that's a dumb
times.
Where's your alien egg? Do you have it? With you?
It's behind me.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay, all right, yeah, yeah. This is Tim Chaten. He loves.
This is
yeah.
My favorite film series of all time, probably.
Craziness. It's good. Yeah. It's a good series. These ones I've seen. No, I love in the second one when she's using the kind of McWarrior suit to like move boxes and stuff, and you're thinking, oh, that's kind of cool. Mm-hmm. And then she shows up and she takes on the alien queen at the end with it. Like stuff like that. That kind of flowing storyline of remembering the old, to combine with the new scenes. It's
parallelism or something like that. Yeah,
it's really cool. So, yeah, that was a great scene.
So, I also recall the radio. This is quite a piece of tech, that radio they have there.
Yeah, a radar science experiment.
A radar decides, yeah. Oh my gosh, that's.
Can you imagine?
To think that you would get in trouble for having a radio out.
Yeah,
it's so taboo to have a radio.
Well, considering that we're using something that probably would have been seen as an alien device 50 years ago to talk and to have this podcast, a podcast would be alien. Heck. Everything, probably most things that we're using now, 50 years ago, would have been dangerous.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That was funny. I love when they're like, Radio Free America, and all they want to do is listen to rock and roll.
Yeah. So this boarding school, there were little kids there too. Like, this was a big age range. This was like elementary through high school kind of thing.
Yeah, from what I understand, it was just a very long prep school. I went to a private school, but it was
for high school, not for the other ones.
Right. Mine went from pre-K to 8th grade. That was my experience, and it wasn't like that where it was boarding school. Thank goodness. I would not have done well with that.
No.
At least being away from family, I could have done well with the kids, I guess, but. But it is interesting when you grow up like all your life under one roof. Like, I spent 11 years in the same school. And that was a weird day when I went to high school, and everything was just kind of like, whoa, this is. I felt like what's his face when he went into the school for the first time. And
yes. I'm not good with character names in this one at all.
I forget his name.
Neil.
No, not Neil.
No, that's not Neil. He was there before.
Silver Street. Knox Silver Street. That's his name. It's Knox. It is Knox.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the guy I've been trying to think of. But yeah, I kind of felt like him when I first walked into high school. I'm thinking like, oh wow, this is extremely overwhelming and unfamiliar, and culturally it's different. And within about 2 minutes, I had heard every word that I was taught not to say. So this is funny. So, but yeah, it's beautifully filmed though. Like, I love the location there.
Where was this done?
It was filmed, I believe, either in Massachusetts or Connecticut.
Yeah, some New England stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely New England. Like that one scene when you see the bagpiper in the morning mist off the pond practicing. Oh, gosh, that is just...
Yeah.
Oh, so cool. So cool. Again,
what else to touch on here? Yeah, I mean, it's just such a... It's a wonderful, I mean, just general coming-of-age story that just is... It's got a lot of great moments. Let's put it that way.
Let's, I mean, we could finish up talking about Williams' performance specifically.
Yeah, sure.
Talk about that.
Do you have introduced as just, he just came back from London and he's replacing the student his teacher that retired. And he's the youngest teacher by far. There's teachers there that have been teaching there for like 50 years and are old, dying people. I don't want to put it that way, but they're old people. They've been there a long time. They're older than I am. Anyways, but he's kind of put in this tough position, I'd say, as a young teacher.
Yeah, he is, and I always like that scene when he talks to Neil in his room. I like the fact that they never show his room until that scene, because you realize just how much he has to deal with in being separated from his lady in London.
Yeah.
And kind of stuck in that very small
And he was
room.
a former student of the school.
Yeah.
So he knows how bad this place really is.
Love that part.
And he kind of lets on that, like, this place kind of sucks, but I like teaching.
Yeah. Well, I like. He's like, I too attended Hilton and survived.
Hilton, yes.
Yeah.
He relates on a level that just the other teachers don't even try to relate on.
Yeah, he does a really good job, and I know it was probably just as much Peter Weir's directing and the screenplay. I forget the screenwriter's name. They all do a really good job in showing the difference between, I like to call it pastoral teaching, in which you don't like straight up being like, this is the way. This is the way how we do things, and this will not change. Kind of thing. Sometimes you need it. Sometimes you need that kind of teaching.
Sure.
In this case,
for instance, is
helpful. Exactly. Because it's like, this is the answer.
Yeah.
Whereas poetry in English and language is always morphing and shifting and changing and stuff. But I like how they show that with him. I think that's such a well done. I don't know. It's such
a wall. See, he's a prime example of this is what you want in a teacher.
Yeah. It's interesting.
And they do a nice job showing the other classes before you get to Keating's class to give you an idea of the difference there.
Yeah. Really does
like
make
the foreign language class just gets me like, really? That's how you're going to teach
foreign
language?
Agricola. Agricolis. Again, please. Agricolis.
Like, how does that teach you anything?
Well, but the funny thing is too is that no matter how many times I see that movie, all the teachers that are shown before him, I'm like, I've had that kind of teacher before, where it's like literally, they're not teaching, they're just talking, and it's hard. I'm not going to deny being a teacher is hard.
I've heard stories. My sister's a teacher, so
my sister and my brother-in-law are teachers too. And it's not, I respect the teaching profession more than anything because, I mean, heck, without them, we'd probably be a bunch of uneducated numbskulls. And I mean, maybe not. I mean, my parents are smart, too. They probably would have done fine, too. But I just think that I've heard this before in Europe and in other parts of the world that teachers, especially East Asia, teachers are very, very, very highly renowned. I mean, they're like elevated to almost celebrityhood in some places. And here in America, I just find that they're kind of treated with such a dispensable attitude by other people. And I wonder if in turn that kind of, like, for instance, I have a friend here.
Is that partly related to the budgets of schools not being
Probably. Well, for instance, I have a friend of mine. She works at the L.A. Unified School District, I think, in downtown. I think she has like 150 students, which not all at once, but like that's like 4 or 5 classes.
How do you know 150 names like that?
Well, and not just that. how do you grade everything? And this, and this is not, you're not getting paid off hours. Like, you're getting paid a set salary to do your work. You know, you and I,
which
it's
would
great.
highly encourage standardized testing instead of,
Right.
you know, seeing development through better forms of, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which then makes teachers feel like, oh, well, I'm just a what do they call it, a clog? No, not a clog, a cog, a cog in the machine. Yeah. And it's like, I understand why people feel this way. It's because, yeah, I don't know. I mean, this is an entirely different conversation, but the way public school systems here in America work, there's some parts of it not a big fan of, and I think that I mean, I don't know. Heck, I'm the least educated person to talk about this kind of matter. I just know something is wrong. So anyway, but this is a good movie that talks about the attitude towards teaching styles.
But as Keating's character kind of goes through this film, he becomes more and more connected to the students, for sure.
He does.
And, you know, the scene when he gets lied to about talking to, is it Charlie's dad?
Neil's talking to his dad, yeah.
Man, I wish he just told him, I don't know.
Yeah.
Told him the truth, or I wish he actually talked to his dad, but yeah.
Yeah. It's tough, man.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna pretend to know. I have no idea what it means to have a basically verbally abusive and manipulative father. You know, I didn't have that. And unfortunately, there's so many people that have had that. Maybe not that extremely, but like
right. And the mom, oh my gosh, the mom is just kind of, I don't know if she's afraid to do anything or just like is agreeing with her husband.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, she's kind of almost pathetic, kind of.
Yeah, kind of a limp noodle. Noodle. I was always disappointed in that one scene when Neil stands up and he's like, I want to tell you how I feel. And he's like, well, how do you feel? And she's like, oh, we're so worried. And then he doesn't say anything. It's just like,
yeah.
But,
yeah, why? Yeah, I wish he'd stood up, like, man. I don't want to do what you're wanting me to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's all that basic element of tragedy. It's just like Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet, where the guy taking the message just misses the priest walking away. You know, those kind of like would have, should have, could have. But makes for interesting
and then
storytelling.
Keating's character is yelled at by the dad. You know,
oh gosh,
he was not even like, why is he being yelled at? He didn't like, you know, cause anything that bad to happen to his son.
It's the dangers of pride and greed, I think, in all kinds of forms, and I think they did a good job. I don't know. I think they showed a good job in showing the dangers of ambition, which is shown in the form of the father, where, you know, he wanted great things for his son, so essentially so he could profit.
Is
from
it also shown in Keating's getting fired for trying to be too ambitious at work?
Well, no, I think that was more of a reaction that the school board just needed someone to blame, and
suicide, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like it's the father's fault. I mean,
yeah. I think that Keating shows a good example of what it means to learn for the sake of learning, and to improve oneself as a human being, not just to get a great job to make a lot of money or to do that kind of thing. Which, in many ways, it's interesting because I found, at least in today's world of advertising education, because education is now a business, it's no longer education, at least not in the university-based schools. It's very much more catered towards getting a good job, getting a good internship, and making the money and that kind of thing, which is fine, but it's much more focused on that than actually what the purpose of education is. We're also in this golden era of
you can learn through so many tools available to you for low costs outside of the school system.
Yeah. I just wonder, I wonder how long the bubble is going to hold before it just completely
I can't
bursts.
imagine by the time, when eventually I have kids of college age, that it'll be the same situation. It can't be.
I can't imagine.
No.
That kind of stuff, I don't know. It concerns me as a person. But anyway,
yeah. Anyways, we're running out of time here.
Dead Poet Society is definitely one of my faves.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
What was there?
Do you have a favorite scene?
I was just reminded of the scene where the telephone scene, where I forget the line. God's calling or something.
Oh,
I forget the exact.
What he's like, Mr. I forget the head dean.
Yeah.
Dean, it's for you. It's God. He says we should have girls at Wilton.
Yes. Yeah.
That was it was so funny, but so like, but it was a great tension breaker.
Yeah.
In that scene.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, "Oh Captain, My Captain" is the scene of the movie. Come on.
Oh,
that's it. I mean, come on.
Of course.
But I guess looking back long term, and just the most impactful scene is just the scene of looking at the old students that are probably now dead because it's a 100-year-old photo.
Yeah.
And that scene gets me every time. Not even the carpe diem part of that scene, just the realization that, wow, I'm gonna grow up one day.
Yeah. It's weird. It's weird.
Yeah, it's weird to think about that. Like, especially like as you watch movies with like from the older, Shirley Temple movies or whatever. This little girl who you remember as a little girl, she's, I think no longer living. Like it's wild
she
to
died
think about
recently too. Yeah, recently. Yeah.
That part just gets me whenever I watch black and white films to realize that. And anyways,
they're all gone. Every single person that ever made that movie is gone.
Yeah,
it's like that to me. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's literally like Ghosts of the Past. It's fascinating to me, but it's like
a Wonderful Life, like all those.
Yeah,
most of those are characters. Yeah, it's like
but they had.
It's crazy.
They had flesh and blood. They had brains and souls and working hands and stuff. So
I wish I could just pause time and just but you can't pause time.
Well, just watch the DVD and press pause.
There you go. Anyways, any final thoughts?
I would say for those of you who are listening, if you get the chance, I know that I think it's the Blu-ray with like the special edition version of Dead Poet Society.
Yep.
Unfortunately, mine presently does not. I need to get a new copy, but the newer copies have the Peter Weir, who's the director, that have the director's commentary. It's very good. Peter Weir is an exceptional director. He's done Master and Commander. He did Truman Show. He did Dead Poet Society. He did The Way Back. He's done, I think, years of Living Dangerously. Like he's run the gamut as far as like he's like the Spielberg. He's the Australian version of Spielberg. Essentially, with like the variety of stuff he's worked on.
That's cool.
But his commentary is very insightful. Check that out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And I will be curious if any already filmed Robin Williams movies will come out. I think there were a couple in post-production.
There's 3. There's Angriest Man in Brooklyn, Night at the Museum 3, and there's a third one of whose name I forget.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
Check it out on Movie Clips Trailers.
There you
on
go.
YouTube.
Movie Clips Trailers. Anyways, Mr. Alex Barker, thank you for joining us today.
Absolutely.
Where can
folks
Thank you, find you on the interwebs?
People can find me here, which I believe is at Milliner Man on Twitter. I'm actually on a quest. I will take this moment to speak out on this. I'm on a quest to try to get Adele and Peter Jackson to retweet something. So if you want to check out, if you want to check out my Twitter, I posted my Lord of the Rings tribute trailer. You've seen it,
I have.
I think
It's very good.
So I just want to see if this works because I know people with big names sometimes do this, and I just think it'd be fun if they did that. So if you get the chance. Take a look at it. Only retweet it.
Follow him on Twitter and retweet it. And
Only retweet it if you like it. Watch it first, and if you like it, retweet it. If not, no big deal. No.
I actually
no
got a response back via paper mail via Peter Jackson's assistant,
Hey,
So
all
I
right.
sent in a letter it was through iTunes, like iPhoto, whatever thing. I
Cool.
had Dead Alive, Bad Taste, and Meet the Feebles, and underneath, when are these coming to iTunes and Blu-ray? And I got a response back saying they're digitally remastering them and they won't hit
Hey,
iTunes until
all
that
right.
happens. So
All right.
they
Well,
do
there we go.
respond.
They do.
Just,
Yeah,
it
they're
took me a couple
people.
months, but yeah.
Yeah, they're
But
people.
anyways, yeah, very cool. And Milliner Man, and
Milliner Man.
your tag is also handle is also in the album artwork now, which is cool.
Yeah.
That is a VHS tape. If you didn't catch what that was
Oh. Oh.
in the film thing.
Oh,
Anyways.
cool. No, I'll have to read that.
Yeah. My username at tchaten. It's good for everywhere, so find me there. Thanks for watching or listening, and we'll be back next time for the Untouchables, or maybe
The
something else,
Intouchables,
'cause
yeah.
I kind of released these in random order, so this will jump ahead in the queue, I think. So,
Yeah.
So thanks
All
for
right.
watching. Be back
Take
next
care,
time.
everybody.